This video is brought to you by IXL, used by millions of students worldwide to get ahead in math, English, and more.
Listen to this poem. I heard a bird sing in the dark of December, a magical thing and sweet to remember. We are nearer to spring than we were in September. I heard a bird sing in the dark of December. Poems like this express feelings, thoughts, or ideas in a creative way. They often use special elements that make them memorable and fun to read. For instance, this poem uses repetition, which is when words, phrases, or whole lines are repeated. These lines are repeated here and here to emphasize the most important idea in the poem, hearing the birds singing in December. Poems can also have rhyme. That's when there's a pattern of words ending in the same sound. This poem has what we call end rhyme, which is when words rhyme at the end of the lines. For example, these words rhyme: sing, thing, spring, sing. And these words rhyme: December, remember, September, December. See the pattern? But poems can also have internal rhyme, which is when at least one of the rhyming words appears inside a line, not just at the end. In this poem, the words heard and bird create internal rhyme. Another element that makes poems unique is their ability to have rhythm. This means that the words in the poem follow a pattern of strong and weak syllables, similar to a beat in music. Listen, I heard a bird sing. Did you hear how heard and sing are a little bit stronger, while the I, and bird are softer? And if we read a little further, you'll notice how the end rhyme that we talked about earlier adds to the rhythm. Listen, I heard a bird sing in the dark of December, a magical thing and sweet to remember. Did you hear the beat that the rhyming words helped create? For the most part, this rhythm continues throughout the poem. When a poem has no regular rhythm or rhyme pattern, it's considered free verse, like with this poem. As I read it, listen to how the strong and weak syllables don't really follow a pattern. The fog comes on little cat feet. It sits looking over harbor and city on silent haunches and then moves on. See how each line seems to be a little different? We don't hear a rhythm like we did in the other poem, which means it's written in free verse. Next, check out this excerpt. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. Wow, these verses are another great example of rhythm, but they also illustrate something called alliteration, which is when words that are close together begin with the same sound, like we see here with nodded, nearly napping. It also uses onomatopoeia, which is when a word sounds like the noise it's describing. In this poem, the words tapping and rapping sound similar to the actual sound these actions would make in real life. Can't you almost hear someone or something tapping and rapping at the door? Awesome! Let's check out one more poem together. As we read, keep an eye and an ear out for some of the elements we just discussed. Till I look down on the garden green, down on the roof so brown, up in the air I go flying again, up in the air and down. Can you spot any examples of the poetry elements we've talked about? What about garden green? Both words begin with the same sound, so that's an example of alliteration. Nice! I also noticed that here, down and brown rhyme. Since down is inside the line instead of at the end, this is an example of an internal rhyme. But wait, the word down is also used here. Brown, down. That's an example of end rhyme. Awesome. Do you notice anything else? How about the repetition of the words down and up? Repeating these words helps us imagine being on a swing, swinging up and down, up and down. And what about the rhythm? Do you think the poem follows a specific pattern, or is it written in free verse? I think it has a rhythm. Check it out. The syllables seem to follow a pattern, which is creating a sort of beat for the poem. Listen for it while I reread the first 2 lines. Till I look down on the garden green, down on the roof so brown. Did you hear the beat? That shows that this poem follows a rhythm. Great work identifying the elements of poetry here. That was fun. Now it's your turn. See if you can find a fun poem to read on your own, and remember to keep an eye out for the elements we discussed today.
Head over to IXL.com for more practice on this skill and thousands more videos in math and language arts.